Hello, Anita. Welcome to our interview.
Hi, how are you, Anya?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm happy that we got time to get together and also get the techniques sorted out. But now
Oh
we
yeah.
can have this conversation with each other. I went onto your Facebook profile and I looked through all the things. I lived last in Singapore in 2006. So can you believe it? It's 10 years ago. And so
Yeah.
many things have happened since then. And when I look at you and the life you've been living, I can see this amazing transformation throughout these years, throughout every stage in your life. Do you just want to quickly share with me how you're doing?
That's a very good question. I have absolutely no idea. I think it's true. I mean, the last 10 years have probably been a really major learning curve for me. And I don't know if the learning curve would have been as interesting and as nuanced and textured if I hadn't had to have coped with things that were not as sort of wonderful or pleasant. You know, in the last 10 years, I've had to cope with my mom having had a second stroke. Um, and also, you know, here in Asia, the economic crisis happened around about 2008, 2009. And these things were all happening at a point in my life when I had begun to seriously take this idea of becoming a TV host as a career. You know, prior to that, it had been a little bit like, yeah, I like it. You know, I got shows and I was doing a lot of interesting things, but I wasn't fully convinced yet. And around about 2007 and 8, after I'd had a couple of really great shows, that's when I thought, yeah, I think I'm good at this. So let's go. And then at the very moment when I thought, let's go, that was when I had to nurse my mom and, help with a lot of things because she had a kind of a stroke that really debilitated her for that time. And she's bounced back, of course, since. But my life really basically got turned upside down. And I became not just a caregiver, but also a person who had to be the mother and the child, and as well as everything else, to take the place of all the things that my mother had been doing on her own. And that really changed my life. Because up until that point, I had been, living the life that we all live, I suppose, at that time, where freewheeling. I was pretty much quite single at the time and enjoying myself. And Singapore is a sort of city where you can enjoy yourself very, very easily. Things are so accessible. And then, boom, this thing happened, and I had to reevaluate everything, and especially reevaluate myself as to what sort of a daughter had I been. And, there are many things that pass your head as, could I have seen this coming? Could I have helped? Could I have been better? And then after a while, you realize that illnesses come and go, stuff happens, and you have to ride the waves. And sometimes, though, you fall off the board and you're drowning, but it made me, I hate to say someone else's illness made me a better person, but the trials and tribulations of what I went through, I hope, made me a better person.
This is a brilliant point. And obviously, the things that come into our life, it really forms of who we are. And I think back of we met in 2002, 2003. And you were still a writer at that point in time for a beauty magazine, and I remember how you told me strongly, I cannot write about lipsticks for the rest of my life, and how you felt there was a stronger calling in you, and then a few years later, I was on a business trip in Vietnam, and there I switched on the TV, and all of a sudden, you are on TV. So I really saw now in those years, and this is just from the outside. I mean, there's always like the public life and the private life. But on the outside, it is amazing the success that you've created and the things you've been doing and also following your passion. When you just described, you know, you set your eyes on becoming a TV host. I'm sure a lot of women, men alike are having the idea, I would like to be a successful person in this and this area, but they fall off and they are not able to go back onto the track again. And
Oh my God.
so in your case, you were speaking about your mom and her sickness, but you managed to go back on again even stronger. So what happened with you that influenced it and that helped you to go back on?
Well, I think what probably every human being goes through is that when you have a real trial and tribulation, how are you going to handle it? What are you going to do? Who's going to help you? And at that very point in my life, I also realized that I felt quite alone. I didn't have a lot of the support that I wished and I would wish anybody. And also I do have kind of a personality where I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, you know, and I did. But I also was running myself into the ground quite a lot. And as a result of you just trying to hold on and do everything by yourself, sometimes you make poor decisions. You know, I needed care for my mom, and the person who came along to care for her wasn't the right person for her. But I think if I had not been so stressed and so focused on like getting every single bit of it right, I might have been able to make better decisions. So I would say, first of all, for anything in life, you must be able to trust a few people around you to help you through not the best moments. It's to help you through the worst moments when you're feeling crazy or you feel like you can't go on. Because although, yes, I do think that from a very young age, I've had a lot of resilience inbuilt, I do think that you cannot forget the support that you have around you that also builds your resilience and makes you kind of want to keep going for it. And then as time went on, I realized that there were people who weren't my friends or relatives or anything like that, who were the ones who actually showed me the way. And so sometimes you have to keep your mind open, because generally we think the people who know us best will be the ones who will help us. It's not necessarily true. And I draw from a lot of things: a random conversation with someone, listening to, you know, eavesdropping on somebody's something. And what happened for me and how it changed for me and how it also helped me to also advance myself in my career was my mother's doctor at the time could see that I was stressed beyond belief and trying to make everything perfect and right. And she just said to me, please take your foot off the pedal. Mm-hmm. If you don't take your foot off the pedal, you're going to kill yourself and you're not going to be of much use. And she used kill in the broader sense. I'll become ill. Yeah. You know, I'm not going to be able to focus or help or cope. And that I'll never forget. And I just went home and it had an immediate effect on me that what was I trying to do here? Mm-hmm. And I took that and I applied it to everything else. I applied it to how I dealt with my mom, and I cannot control everything. I can't reverse what's happened to her, but I can pick it up from here onwards. Mm-hmm. I applied it to my career, which is it's a tough business to be in, where basically it's based on how appealing you are, you know, and I'm all about my brain and all about my, you know, look at me, I'm not an idiot, you know. And I also took my foot off the pedal of that, because I truly believe that everybody's got their time for everything. And the right people see you at the right moments. They really do. And it took me a long time to realize that. And also I had to realize that it actually doesn't matter who likes you, because the business is really about many, many, many aspects. And if you're good at what you do, that's it. Just be good at what you do. Also, you change and grow over a period of time. I mean, I went into television in my very, very early 30s. So I wasn't sort of in my 20s. I wasn't starstruck. I thought it was a bit of a laugh and a bit of fun. And that's how I've always treated it. And I knew that the moment I started to take it a bit too seriously was a moment that I was not in it for the right reasons anymore.
Okay.
And the reason I say that is not to not be serious about your job or serious about what you do. I'm very serious. I turn up, I get my job done, and I do it well. But there's so much more around you. There's bigger things than you. And you're a pinprick on the ocean, you know? And when you apply that to everything, it all becomes, you take yourself less seriously. You know, I'm still passionate about what I do. I still love creating stories. I still love being on camera, but every single one of those moments is just a moment.
Yeah.
This is not going to define the rest of my life. And I think when you have other people to take care of and other things to take care of, you also realize you're just a small little thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think for people who are watching this, who will say, well, how do I become a TV star? How do I, it's not about becoming that. It's about perfecting your craft. Perfect that. And by the way, it will take you 10 years to do it before you can even feel remotely proud of a single moment where you think, yeah, that was pretty good. Hey, I'm not too bad. It's taken me a good decade.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what anyone says, and everybody's well-meaning and they love your shows and they love you this and that, or they love your, whatever it is that you do, your writing, your podcast, it's not that these things are not important,
Mm-hmm.
but I've always competed with myself. I don't compete with other people in my field. I don't compete with somebody who just won the Oscar or the Emmy or whatever. I'm competing with me because that's the competition that counts.
Right. What I heard from what you were just saying is in the end, it's the moment that counts, and the moment that you live, because that's all that stays with us anyway. The past is the past that has. We are not able to influence that, but we are always able to influence the right here and now. And I also loved how you were saying there were moments when you realized you were not in it for the right reasons anymore, and you sort of, you paused, you reflected, and you most probably adjusted then. And so that the next time when you have your next gig, your next job, you feel you're in it with all your heart, and then people love you also for bringing that passion and energy to the place.
I think that's so important, and passion and energy. I mean, I remember a really wonderful interview I did many, many years ago with a very famous chef. Okay. And he had been through a lot of trials and tribulations, and his entire restaurant had burnt down. And
Whoa.
People thought he was crazy, you know. Yeah. And I remember listening to him, and he said passion wasn't enough. Passion was never enough. It was desire. And I gave a talk recently where I said that I think passion and desire are very different things. Because I think passion is a very pleasant feeling.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very beautiful, almost a sexy feeling, you know, whereas desire is the thing that keeps you going, because it's burning and burning and burning and burning in you, you know, and it's the thing that keeps driving you forward to whatever it is, whatever it is. It doesn't have to be an achievement. It can be just to be more present. I desire to be more present. I desire not to handle myself in such and such a way. I prefer to be in that kind of a way, because even to do a meditation in the morning, you know, it has to be a desire to do it.
Right.
I can be passionate, but then I'll be like, you know what? I'll do it later because I'm passionate, but it can wait, you know?
Yeah.
But desire is like, I can't live without this.
There is a need in it. Like what I hear is, the difference between passion and desire is desire has also a need for it in it.
That's right. Well, passion can be quite passive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, and also to remember that your life is changing in segments. It's changing all the time. In the 10 years, I've probably had crossroads 3 times.
Okay.
And a crossroad is a question. Yeah. It's a question. It's like, where do I go now? You know, and it's also a way to motivate you and push you forward, because you can't resolve it fast. You know, crossroads are like, oh, I got to think about this. I need to reflect on this. And it allows you to sort of like, okay. And it will come and it will come until you're able to cognitively, emotionally, and impactfully answer that message.
How do you show up to people in your circle, or even when you meet strangers on the road, when you see they have been maybe fallen off the track and are somehow not able to get back on again? What do you do?
I think empathy.
Yeah.
Empathy is the first line, which again is different from sympathy. And empathy is because I've been there. So I think you can only speak with certainty about things that you've experienced in your life. You know, the rest of it is just trying or bullshitting, you know. So when you see another person, and I've seen many people, you know, who you feel they've fallen off track. And so I think it's to be, first of all, empathy. Second is a no bullshit policy. So don't lie to yourself, and don't lie to me, and don't expect me to lie to you.
Right.
So once we've addressed the fact that you need to make a person feel some level of love, or to be honored, or to be given some level of respect, then we move to the like, okay, let's cut the crap. Okay. And then after that, that person knows that they've got some support. If they want to talk to you, if they want to move ahead, then you do it. But usually after empathy and no bullshit, most people are like, they feel vulnerable and exposed. So they either walk away and they want to do their own thing, and you have to, as a friend or as a colleague or whatever, let them go. Or they walk always to you and are wanting you to solve the problem. So I think the third thing is then to sort of be able to disengage yourself from solving another person's problem, and allow them to see that they have the ability and the intelligence, and they have it in them. So how I like to show up for people in that moment is to sort of say, well, you can do this. If I can do it, I'm an ordinary person. There's nothing extraordinary about me. If you can get to the point where you can clear away all the bullshit, because I think that's what we do to ourselves. The reason we get to a point where we're feeling like we're lost and it's because we're letting a lot of the bullshit, and it's just building up. And so it's like this, and you can't breathe anymore. So once you clear away some of the bullshit, you'll be able to breathe. Then you're able to kind of see that, oh, there's a way forward. And everyone's way forward is different, and everyone's light at the end of the tunnel is different. So there's a point where you show up for a person, and then there's a point where you have to let them go.
Love that. Yeah, very powerful. And even the one who is maybe instantly walking away, I'm sure the empathy that you were spilling onto them lingers with them and is a message along the way. Yeah.
Absolutely. The reason why people walk away is that sometimes you're speaking the truth to them. You know,
and they don't time to think about that. And
that's right.
Time, is it the right time to hear the message, maybe?
That's right. And there's a right time for every message. I mean, I bet sometimes we forget this, you know, with a good friend or a lover or our family. I want you to hear this message now. And, you know, what's behind it is care, concern, and all of that love. But those are the people especially that you need to back off from. I'm sure you've heard and read about this whole concept of holding space for people.
Right.
You know, and holding space is really about, you can come back here anytime. If everybody could tell everybody that they care about, you're going to screw up, it's going to happen, I'm going to screw up, but I've got some space to come back to, and you're going to hold that space for me. That is the key to, I think, the most loving kinds of relationships and friendships ever. Because what it means is you didn't judge me. You knew I was going to screw up. You didn't say I told you so. Or maybe you will say I told you so. We'd say that anyway. But you know what? You come back here. Come back here. I have this space for you. I always knew that you would be able to come back to this space. And I think that makes people grow and develop and change, because we realize, wow, okay, I can breathe. Because what often happens is that in the process of realizing your own mistakes or moving forward or whatever, you feel that you need to rise up to somebody else's idea of what this is. And then you make a mistake because somebody else's idea is not your idea. It's not your life.
Anita, I have nothing but to say thank you for everything, for the time that you shared with me, for the words of wisdom that you poured onto the people who are going to listen to this interview. Thank you 1,000 times. I hope I'm able, well, holding this space is always something. You're a good friend of mine, and I really hope we can also not just virtually hold hands, but see each other in person sometime soon again.
Well, Anya, I want to just say thank you so much for today. Just to be connected to you like this is a very beautiful thing. It feels like none of those years have ever passed between us. And to be able to be a part of your success, that makes me really happy. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.